Hello and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. I'm Tracy, also known as Mercy Tiara, and I share scrapbooking process videos, project shares, tips and tricks, unboxings, and more here on my channel, so welcome. I'm jumping right into the process today as I scrapbook two inserts for the pocket page that I just did on the previous video on my channel. I will link that in a card if you haven't seen it yet. I'm starting here with these photos, and I must be looking for another photo. That's why I'm moving my mouse like that. But as you can see, I have these templates that I almost always start with. These are handmade templates. They're just pieces of cardstock. I have two of them that are 12 by 12, and they're just I used a ruler and a pencil to just mark out the Design A Becky Higgins page protector shape on it. And then I also have two smaller ones that are 6 by 12 that are basically a half of a Becky Higgins Design A page protector. And those are the two common shapes that I use, is Design H, which is the half of Design A, and the Design A. And so today I'm going to be doing two inserts, but I haven't quite decided exactly how I'm doing it. So I'm just kind of winging it and deciding as I go. So I have two things here that I'm capturing. One is graduation, which is all over on the right hand side, so on that page protector. And then the other is a celebration of life that we went to. And so I am going to be scrapbooking that other one later on in the same video. So hold tight if you're looking for that one. Now, these graduation photos I'm going to make, and it looks like I'm doing a half of a page here, but basically the side on the left is going to be the front part of this insert, and the side on the right is going to be the back side of this insert. So I'm just using one full template to basically do two halves of an insert. So I am going into my Project Life cards here. The majority of these are from either Studio Calico or from Paper Person. I used to subscribe to those kits, and so I have quite a stash of unused cards in my stash that I'm just kind of going to go through over time. Most of what I do for my pocket pages these days is I'm kind of DIYing it with my leftover 12 by 12 scrapbooking kits. So after I do a bunch of 12 by 12 layouts, then I just do some Project Life pages with some of my scraps. That's what I've been doing here. But for this particular page, because it's an insert and I kind of just want to get it done, and my inserts aren't usually as creative or as elaborate as some of my other pages, I just went with using the cards for this one. So I'm starting with a label from my stash, and these are letter stickers from the Summer Vibes kit that I was already using for the other pages around this page. And I'm going to pop this up, which I don't always do on Project Life. So sometimes with pocket pages, we like things to be flat because we tend to try to cram as many of those pages into our album as we can. But I am doing my pocket pages monthly this year. So I have an opportunity to use a little bit more embellishment and dimension. So that I really liked that patterned card. I think it's a Kelly Perky card that has the grad on it, that design. I really, really liked it. It reminds me of the CBC logo, and we like CBC here, so that was a good thing to kind of put on the background. And then for this one, I think that this is also a Kelly Perky card. This is what I call a data card. It has a place that says date, location, event, and then a space for you to do some documenting, and then a place that says documented by. So I used my roller date stamp to stamp out June 30th, 2023. I'm just double checking the spelling of the restaurant. It's Chaba Thai. Event is Liv's grad lunch, and then documented by Tracy. And in the place where where you could put some journaling, I just put the photo. I printed my photo at 2x3, which is one of my favorite sizes, but I did trim it down a little bit from there so that it would just fit nicely on the card. And as you can see, I'm just sliding the photos. I'm not really decorating the photos very, very much or at all, because for me, inserts are opportunities to just stick in some extra photos. So I don't do a ton of decorating on my inserts, but I have these stickers from the Summer Vibes kit and they work really well. So one of them here says, "Love this so much." So I put that across the photo of Liv out in front of the forum. And then this one says Summer Memories, and I just put that on the other one. I actually stuck those right down to the outside of the page protectors, which is okay. You can do that. They will hold. And now this is going to go in my already documented page here, which is the spread I just did. You might recognize it if you saw the video right before this. And now that's where that's going to go, except it's actually not. You watch to the end and you'll see that I changed my mind about this. But my thought is that this would go here. It covers up the fact that there were two similar cards on the same kind of level. I was going to put a tab right here, and I do like putting a tab on my inserts, but I decided not to. It would be okay there, but I actually didn't want to have it be on the other side of that. Like, I didn't want it covering anything on the other side, so I decided to forego the tab. You can see that it's an insert and flip it separately. So this brings me to my idea that I had about this layout of the celebration of life. So basically, because this is a celebration of life and it's a bit of an emotional bunch of photos and memories, and I don't necessarily want it hanging out there in the open. Flip a page and suddenly you're seeing photos of people being vulnerable, being their true, genuine selves in an emotional moment. There's not a whole lot of photos like that. Like, most of them are pretty neutral, but it's still, it's a bit of a private-er moment. Is that a word? No. But anyhow, you know what I mean. What I decided was I would like to have this be like a fold-out insert so that you don't necessarily just see all these photos as soon as you turn the page. You have to kind of go looking for them. I'm making my viewer work hard to see these, is what I'm doing. So I love this paper, and I'm going to use it in 12 by 12 format. What you see me doing there is I'm actually just scoring it. This trimmer has a trimming blade and a scoring blade. It's from Stampin' Up! And so I scored it so that it will easily fold in half. And then I'm going to put these photos on here in the same kind of configuration that they would be if I had pockets, but they're not going to be in pockets. They're just going to be glued to that Sunray paper from Simple Stories that came in the Summer Vibes kit that I'm using up in my scraps for this bunch of Project Life. Now, I do want some of that pattern to show, so I don't want to entirely cover up that sunshine paper behind. I like it looks a little bit like a sunrise or a sunset, however you want to think about a celebration of life. And I love the colors, and I love that it kind of reminds me of tropical things, and Brian kind of reminds me of tropical things because he loved Cuba so much, and we went to Cuba with them, and Cuba was such an important part of their life. So I am trimming these down so that you will see some of that pattern paper behind these photos, but not too much. You're just going to see the little edges of it. And some of these photos were already kind of composed in a way where the main thing was centered, and so I'm taking off little bits from all of the sides so that the images are still centered. Now, this is Brian's guitar, which was sitting on a chair. It was a very musical celebration, and so his guitar was over there on the chair during the whole thing. It was kind of felt like he was there with us, and so that was lovely, right beside where the bands played. The first photo is the Sons of Maxwell performing. The Sons of Maxwell are very, very dear friends to Fee and Brian, and so it made sense that they would perform at this event. They're a fairly famous Canadian band who we've had the pleasure of meeting through Fee and Brian. And so then these are photos that Fee posted on Facebook just of kind of like her memories of different events. Those were both at our wedding, Brian with both of us. And so I just need to do a little bit of tidying up here. And what I like to do for tribute pages or pages where I'm kind of like capturing a sad story or an emotionally important story, is sometimes I like to not do a whole lot of decorating or craftsmanship, and I just kind of want to treat it more as a documentation as opposed to an artistic outlet. Now, there are times when I do want to, and that's kind of part of the healing process, is to use that artistic outlet as part of your grieving. I have done that before. I have done a few pages about my father that were that. They were kind of like grieving pages where they were pretty artistic and very, very symbolic and deeply meaningful. And that is a good way to do this. And there's no right or wrong way to scrapbook, and there's no right or wrong way to grieve. So it's important that you do, if you're doing this kind of thing, that you do it for you and that you don't do it for the internet or the world or for social media or for that sort of reason. And for me, I really just wanted to make this about documenting that we went to this celebration of life. It was an understated event. Like, it wasn't a big hoopla. It was big and emotional and intense, but it was also kind of peaceful and quiet. And so I wanted this page to be peaceful and quiet. And I don't mean quiet. There was music and it was loud and celebratory, but I mean quiet psychologically, right? Like it was somber, I guess might be a word, but not really. It wasn't even really somber. It was sort of just, yeah, peaceful might be a good word. That's how I felt anyways. I'm sure different people who went felt different things because that's how life is, but I found it peaceful and healing. It was healing. So I just wanted to make this page be reflective of that. And I think that the sunshine, that you can interpret that as a sunrise, as in, like life going on, and we continue to live with the memory living on, or a sunset, as in, like the sun setting on a certain phase of our lives when he was with us, and now we are living without him. So this is what I ended up doing, right? So you saw me mat all of those on the darker brown cardstock. And this darker brown cardstock, it just kind of, gives the page a little bit more structure. It lends those parallel lines and perpendicular lines with the little bits of the sun rays peeking out in between them. And it just gives the photos a little bit more presence on the page, as I often say. Now, those last two in the bottom corner, I didn't mat. I just felt like it would be too much. And so I just took my brown, thicker marker and outlined around them for a little bit of faux matting. It's a little bit fussier than trying to mat them and cut it out. So what I'm thinking about doing here, and I wasn't sure if it would work, is taking a 12 by 12 page protector and just scoring down the center of it. And so as you can see, that scores quite nicely. It's holding its shape and the score. And I'm just going to take a bone folder to reinforce that fold. And then I'm going to place this in the page protector. It's a little bit bulky. So it's a little bit wavy, like it's not sitting flat. And so I'm just going to take a little smidgen off of the edge of it. And now it lays really flat, actually. That works well. I was surprised and happy that it's working so well. It lays quite flat. And I like that it's got like a little bit of a hinge to it, right? Another thing that you could do is do a tent kind of flap like I usually do on my pages, but a long tent. So it would be like a 6 by 12 tent and just slide it in. But I think I like that I did it this way. I'm just kind of showing a couple of different options. Now I'd like to put a paper clip on this just to hold it closed so that by default it's closed and you have to do something to open it, to interact with it. And so I thought the music clip is kind of relevant to Brian, but I didn't like how the yellow was. I didn't really like that yellow color. Heart is obviously very good. Also, these are kind of shallow, and I liked how the arrow is deeper and it holds it shut a little bit better. I felt like those other two shallow paper clips might work their way out of the page over time and get lost. So I decided to go with that arrow, but then I, at the last minute, noticed that I have these chunky ones that I really like, and it's a nice combination. Like it's big enough, but it's deep enough, but it's not. I just didn't like that pink arrow. It just didn't feel Brian to me. So this is a more neutral one, and I like it a lot. So now I took a break and stopped the camera, and while I was on my break, I picked out a few pattern papers and stickers that I thought might go well with this page for a bit of a title page. So this is a sticker from the Feeling Groovy kit, that big large floral piece there. It's a foam sticker from Feeling Groovy, which was the very first Mercy Tiara kit that we ever had. And I felt like that was a little bit from the era that they were showing a lot of videos of his old musical days when he was in a group and stuff, and it was from the 70s and it had that kind of groovy feel to it. So I thought that would work well. I just added a little bit of washi at the bottom to anchor it a little bit, and I'm going to use this chipboard piece also from the Feeling Groovy kit, and so is the washi tape, by the way. It's from the Vicky Bouton chipboard pieces. I'm going to use that to hold the title, and the title is simply going to be Brian. And so I have a couple of different options. I wanted it to be a woody type of a title, and so I thought about using those chipboard stickers, and then I decided to use these cork ones, and I really love them. I think that the scale of the word Brian here is perfect. It fills up the right amount of the label, and I just really like how it looks. It's very kind of blocky and simple and not too overstated. It's just like Brian was. So I think it's true to theme. So there we go. That's my cover page for this insert. And as you can see, I did do some journaling on the ray there. And I have some other rays that I could like maybe pass this over to Scott and get him to do some journaling on one of the other rays, and maybe get the girls to journal on some of the other rays. But for now, it just is what it is. I'm just going to put away this Feeling Groovy stuff so that I can find it if I need it again. And this part of the insert is done, but then we have this back side, and I have more photos. So let's put another story on the back side of this. The last day that Annabelle was here, we went to Peggy's Cove because we realized we had failed her as a host family by not bringing her to Peggy's Cove. Peggy's Cove is the most photographed lighthouse in the world, and we live very, very, very close to it. And so she had driven by it apparently, but I had thought that her program, like the NSISP, I thought they had brought them to Peggy's Cove at some point, so I just assumed she had already been, but she mentioned that she hadn't been. So on her last day, we took her to Peggy's Cove, and I have the photos there, and you saw, I don't know how I didn't film it, but I just put them out as if they were in a page protector, but I just glued them to a plain piece of white cardstock. And I do have some additional footage here that just shows how these couple of spreads look now that I decided where the inserts will be. So this is the layout that I haven't filmed and narrated yet. So this is the late June and early July and all of July page. And as you can see, I'm showing all of it, so you haven't seen the process for this. This one is coming up, so if you want to see this, just stay tuned to my channel, and the next video should be this one. But I ended up putting the grad insert in this one, and then I put the Brian insert on this, and the Peggy's Cove insert in this one. It just felt like I didn't want two of them in one spread, so I just spread them out. Now I did a little freeze frame here so that you can take a look at that Peggy's Cove insert and see how it turned out. I basically just set it up as if it was a Becky Higgins page protector that I was inserting those 2 4x6s and the 2 3x4s, but I just glued them onto a white piece of cardstock, just an inexpensive white cardstock that I cut down to 6x12, and then I just slid it into the page protector on the other side and glued it to the back, like I glued it to the back side of that hinged piece that opens up to the Brian layout. And I just added a couple of cut aparts from one of the papers in the Summer Vibes kit. And then I took the We've All Been There. See that at the top? That's a stamp from my Nope stamp set. It's in our shop at mercytiarakits.com. And it's a stamp set that has just kind of like everyday sayings in there that are not 100% positive, but not super, super negative either. And so it says, we've all been there. And then I did just handwriting on the photo. It just says, except Annabelle, who actually hadn't been to Peggy's Cove, which we rectified on her last day. Here it is. So I'm just showing you, flipping through how these pages end up looking. So this is the page from the process video that came right before this. And then here's that insert with Brian with the hinged opening up on that side. And then the back side is the Peggy's Cove spread. And now this is the other half of that page that I did on the video right before this one. And then I flip the page, and this is the spread that you'll see next if you watch the next video on my channel. And this one doesn't have any inserts on, any flip ups on that side, but then it has that insert that we did today in this video, and then a couple of flip ups on this side. And you can see how those came together if you watch the next video on my channel. So that's how it all fits together. I know sometimes people have questions about that, so I thought I'd include that footage. Thank you so much to you for watching, and also to these folks, my Patreon supporters. They do help make this channel happen, so a great big giant thanks to them. Patrons do get a few extra perks, so you can check that out. It's linked in the information section below if you'd like to learn more about that. These are some other places that you can find me, mercytiarakits.com. We have a couple of Facebook groups, so you can look those up as well. They're linked in the information section below. Thank you so much for watching, as usual. I really, really appreciate anything that you have to say. Please leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you about this or any other thing that is happening in the scrappy world or on my channel. In the meantime, take care and have a really great scrappy week, and check out that next video for the next page.